On this week's episode, I'm joined by Vanessa Teodoro. Vanessa is born in South Africa, raised in Portugal. She's a visual artist and has done work for some of the world's biggest brands like Louis Vuitton, Jaguar, Google, MTV, Ikea and Heineken. As one of the first female street artists to emerge on Lisbon's urban art scene, Vanessa's work has been featured up and down the country, throughout Europe and even in China. We discuss, amongst other things, her experiences of moving to Portugal as a young girl, the African influence in her work, and how Portugal gives her the space to create something truly unique. Welcome back, or welcome to another episode of Portugal, The Simple Life. And I'm really happy to be joined here by Vanessa Teodoro. Vanessa, hello, and how are you? And thanks for joining the podcast.
Hi, I'm good, thanks, besides my neck, but I'm cool. Thanks for having me.
They call that old age.
Yes, old age or too much work, or lots of murals. So
or a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Vanessa, you and I are from the same place and live in the same country, and we're going to unpack all of that. Exactly. But maybe you can start off by telling us a little bit about you.
Well, I was born in Cape Town. I came to Portugal when I was 9 with my mom, my sister, and my stepfather. So I'm an artist, a visual artist. I do from commercial illustration to sculpture to ceramics to interior design to window design, decoration, and then, of course, my favorite, street art, which is what I'm focused mainly on now. So, yeah, that's more or less it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to get into the street art because that's one of the reasons that we got in contact with each other. You have a big fan of your work, okay, officially. So yes. Me.
Oh, okay.
Come on. Let's keep on the same page here, okay? Anyway, but maybe you could just take us back to moving over to Portugal as a 9-year-old. It's sort of every parent's fear is that move, and are my kids going to be okay? Are they going to adapt? How's it going to work out? It seemed to have worked out for you, but maybe you could just tell us about some of those early memories of coming across and moving to Portugal.
Well, for me, it was like I left all my friends, and my dad's still there. I have stacks of family still there. So for me, it was a bit of it was not kind of like a shock, but it was a hard time to change, especially when you like in that kind of age group. I know for my sister, she's 8 years older, it was even harder for her. But I guess coming here with my family made everything much easier. And well, I left my friends, my school. I remember on the plane, my teacher, she gave me this envelope with little notes from my classmates. So they said all the farewells and this, and I just remember crying my eyes out. I was like, oh, I'm going to miss you guys. And I'm wondering if we were going to stay in touch. But also being a kind of proud that thinking, oh, I'm going to Europe. I'm going to this very cool place and modern and all that kind of thing. I was like imagining how it would be the adventure of a new country and a new language. So I was a bit divided, but still, as you said, it turned out all right for me. So I'm happy we moved.
Okay, well, we have that similar then. I mean, I moved across, I was a little bit older, 29, so 9 plus 20. But I also had letters from friends and family on the plane, and also sat reading them, crying my eyes out, which is less cute when it's a 29-year-old man instead of a 9-year-old girl. But anyway, and it also worked out. So that's a good thing. But I mean, now that you've lived here, this is your home, you've lived most of your life in Portugal, and having still been in contact and gone back and forth a little bit between South Africa, having family there, what are some of the differences that you see between the two countries, and some of the things that you appreciate about Portugal when comparing?
Well, the difference is, it's hard to explain because what I see now as a difference, I didn't see when I was younger. So I'll probably say the differences I see now as an adult When I was younger, probably just, of course, the language and the buildings. In Cape Town, we had a lot of pools and gardens, and we were very laid back, and we did a lot of braais, and it was a different lifestyle. In Lisbon, and in a child's view, everything was a lot of cars, movement, noise, big buildings. So it was a bit different. But I still managed to adapt and was fascinated by the movement of the city and the life of the city. Now as an adult, and because I go back usually in 2 2 years, maybe 3, whenever I can, I see that even Cape Town is being modernized, and it's getting more upbeat, and it's good. Of course, Cape Town is one of the most beautiful cities in the world, besides Lisbon, of course. So I think it's also getting it's getting more. People are working more in the city, and it's kind of a melting pot of influences and different people from all over the world, Cape Town and Lisbon, which is something that I appreciate in both cities. The food, of course, I'm a big fan of the Portuguese food more than South African, actually. Which is kind of dangerous because you need to take care of your silhouette a bit. So you have to be a bit careful, because if you go crazy on the pastéis de nata, that would be bad. But yeah, the differences now as an adult, I would say, just the fact that in Lisbon and in Portugal in this case, everything is so closer. You can travel everywhere. It's like you're in the center of the world, but it's not like you're in Australia or at like the edge of like back down under. It's like it's easy. America's just like 7 hours distance. London's like 2 hours distance. So everything's so near, and that's one of the things that I really, really appreciate by living in Lisbon, especially as an artist, which is good for me to move around.
Awesome. Let's talk about Lisbon. Lisbon has received a lot of airtime on the podcast. It's obviously come to prominence in the last decade as a real sort of go-to destination for people from all over the world. But tell us a little bit about your Lisbon. Where in Lisbon are you based? What you love about it? What you want people to know about your terra, your village?
So usually the terra is they usually call it terra because it's not a city. It's the terra where people come from the interior of the country. That's why they call it terra. In this case, because I'm from Lisbon, well, basically now I'm from Lisbon, I wouldn't call it a terra, but I would say, yeah, where I've been based most of my life. I'll just say that the one thing that I really like about Lisbon, and also because I've lived in London for a few months, I noticed that Lisbon, you can walk and basically go everywhere, and you don't take like forever to get to a place. Like, for example, when I was in London, I wanted to go to the specific art shop, and I had to take like, I don't know how many tubes, and then this at like 3 hours to go to a place, and then you go back then and back there. And in Lisbon, you can actually like almost walk everywhere because it's so small, besides the hills, of course, which actually you have to have some extra guarana for extra energy. But you can walk everywhere, you can go everywhere, but it's also big enough that you can get lost in the little roads and the little special little nooks and crannies everywhere, and it's kind of like a maze, and you can be actually amazed by everything that Lisbon has to offer, especially the little old streets, and especially because Lisbon is one of the oldest cities in Europe, oldest capitals in Europe. So you have a lot of history to discover. And even me, for myself, having been living in Lisbon for 20-something years, I still find places that I haven't discovered yet, and I think, oh my gosh. So for me, Lisbon, that's one of the things that I really like about it.
It's a great city, and I love, spot on about the little nooks and crannies. There's still so many different, and there's always little surprises around every corner, and it's a great city to explore. Many people sort of describe it as a village in a city, because that's the kind of the way that it feels.
Yes, especially in my neighborhood, because I'm, as I forgot to answer your question, I'm from Ahoyus. I live in Ahoyus, which is in the city center, and my road is very like that. It's everybody. I have my neighbor in the front building about maybe 10 meters distance, and sometimes when he's got the curtains open, I can see everything, and everybody's like, so it's a very neighborhoody feeling. It's in a way it's good, but also in a way it's like, oh my gosh, can people be a bit more quiet sometimes? But it's just the choices we make, and it's kind of fun, and you can walk everywhere, especially because I'm in the center, which is good, and you can go by bike, which is nice too, because especially now Lisbon's promoting more the bike lanes, which is cool. So yeah, that's where I'm from now, in Ahoyus, and let's see where life takes me.
Maybe to the Alentejo or something. You never know. You never know what happens.
You never know.
Vanessa, how did you get into the work that you're in? How did that all come about?
Okay, so I studied graphic design and advertising. Then I worked in advertising agencies as an art director for 2.5 years. And then as I was leaving the art agencies, I got this job for Vodafone. And I kind of thought, okay, I can actually make a living with this. Let me just try freelancing, doing what I actually really wanted to do, which was illustration, exploring the art world. And then that's kind of snowballed from there, I guess. So and I also took a 1-year course in illustration and comics design. And that's where I did my first published official work with Kaj magazine, which is a magazine that helps the homeless, and also for the Portuguese first Playboy magazine edition. I did a cartoon for them. So yeah, that's kind of how I started. And then from there, from illustration, commercial illustration, I started doing my own little things here, and then I started exploring ceramics, and then I kind of feel that I need to keep on doing new things because I get bored very easily. So I explored. I spoke to a friend of mine that's a writer, graffiti writer. So I said, okay, let's do something together, because I need to do new things, and I want us to do paint on larger scales instead of just canvases, and so we did a project for the municipality of Lisbon, and then from there I started to gain more interest in it, and then from there it was just like pow everywhere, and then also the fact that I was one of the few female painting street artists. It also helped because it's a mainly masculine area, or art area, especially in Portugal, which is a very Latin country. I would say that in a way that helped bring attention to me and my other colleagues, which were like 3 or 4. But it was good because we were few of us, but in a way it was also like, oh, seriously, we only 4 or 5. So in a way, because I think that it was a good thing and a bad thing, because when we got all the spotlight, which was also interesting, we could also help bring other female artists to paint on walls and just try it for the first time. And in that way, that was really positive. And now, of course, 10 years later, there are many more ladies painting. So I'm glad for that.
Okay, so you were one of the trendsetters. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of the things that Lisbon is well known for, is the urban art and the murals. and again, that's how sort of you and I got in touch. Was I came across some of your work that I saw in Lisbon. But how, maybe you just can give us a bit of a snapshot into how that all works, because I don't think a lot of people know exactly how these huge murals come about. We're talking about these organized murals that you do and others. How does that work, and how has that happened in Lisbon over the last years?
Well, in the beginning, the municipality of Lisbon wanted to help control the illegal graffiti and the tags. So they created a department in the municipality called Galeria de Arte Urbana, which is translated as the Urban Art Gallery Department, which helped artists get, so if say you're an artist and you want to paint on a mural, so they would actually help the artist get authorization from the owner, or all the legal stuff that you need, like all that stuff. And they organize competitions, and they would also do collaborations with brands and help help other artists from abroad come and paint. So they were kind of like an agency inside the municipality that would help promote the urban art scene and educate people also to be more accepting and to break all this the taboos and everything, because I found that in the beginning people were very they thought that street art wasn't such a nice thing. There was, it's just tags, it's just vandalism. But slowly we started to change people's minds. It's like, you see, this can also be productive. This can also help the city landscape, and it could help people's day be a bit more cheerier when they go down the road and they see this happy design, just instead of having everything tagged or dirty or broken down. So I think that in that case, that's what the municipality started to do. And in street art in general, I mean, we as an artist, street artist also, we've started to see a change in mentality, especially with the older people, which is also really interesting. Since that's also one of the things that I like to do when I paint in the street. I get like input from the passerbys. Especially like the old people, they ask, "Oh, Melina," and they all like want to know what I'm doing and how I do it. And you do this all by yourself, and how do you manage, and do you have any assistance? And also they ask me to paint their doors, and okay, don't you want to go by my place and paint also? They're like, "Oh, okay." No, but it's really, really rewarding, the interaction with the people. Not just in Lisbon, but I had the opportunity also to paint in Castelo Branco, and that was the case also with some of the people there. So that was really cool.
Well, I mean, let's talk about some of the projects you've done. I know you've done some considerable works in Lisbon, for a lot of brands as well. Castelo Branco, China, even. But just sort of give us just a quick overview of the places that you've painted. Well,
I'm a bit guilty because I've actually painted mostly in Lisbon. Okay. I wouldn't say that I'm lazy, but I kind of it's just like an organic thing that I get a lot of brands that talk to me and ask me to paint in Lisbon. But I do want to leave my comfort zone more and paint more in like the interior of Portugal and in other cities. But yes, my latest murals were in Castelo Branco, which is very nice. I worked for the municipality of Castelo Branco. And then I also have some works in China where I'm represented by a gallery and an agency, an artist agency. In China, it's, well, not now, of course, because it's a bit not very easy to travel there now. But a few years ago, I did some live painting for them. I painted on a Jaguar. I painted in this. They have a very luxury scene, all this super luxury brands and everything. So it was really eye-opening to see the different cultures and the way that they they look at art and appreciate everything that's Western. It's really, really interesting. And as an artist, I'm deviating a bit here, but as an artist, it's really nice to have the opportunity to travel and get to know other cultures, especially like the Chinese culture, which is like completely different from what we usually know. So yeah. What else were you asking?
Very nice. Well, actually, I want to pull up some of the work that you've done before, and I want to just chat to you and ask you about some of my favorites. And it was hard. I've narrowed it down to 3. It was hard narrowing it down to 3 because I love the stuff that you did with the urban furniture. I love what you did in Copenhagen, the Copenhagen tote. There's so many different pieces that I really, really love. But I wanted to chat to you about a couple that you've done, and one of them being the poem, Is Tudo de Repente. Tell us a little bit about this work.
This was a work that I did in maybe this year in May, I think, May, June. This was for the Alvalade parish, the Junta de Freguesia. It was a collaboration between myself.
Okay, so Alvalade, just for people to know, Alvalade is a neighborhood in Lisbon.
Yes, yeah, so one of the Lisbon parishes. It was a collaboration between myself and the Portuguese poet, Eduardo Pita. So the parish and himself, they gave me this poem to work on and interpret. I used one of the verses that was Isso tudo de repente, and the rest, well, it didn't fit, so I kind of focused on that one, on that phrase. And then I kind of just got inspired by the whole poem, and kind of that's what you see here is basically what I interpreted, which is it was kind of easy. I usually use a lot of black and white. In this case, because it mentions the heart and the blood, and not blood in like a gruesome thing, but the blood and the heart. It's a very strong poem. It's a very intense poem.
Well, let's talk about it. I mean, it's got here, a vida é uma ferida. So life is a wound.
Yes.
O coração lateja.
There's a translation
what if,
on top. If you go a bit
yes.
up, so it's better, more translated. So
there we go. Is life a wound?
Yes.
Does the heart throb and pound? Is blood a blind wall? What if suddenly all?
So the phrase that I use is what if suddenly all, which is isso tudo de repente. I usually I'm a fan of black and white, of course, but I usually always have like a third color. In this case, the red was the obvious choice. And then I used my pattern graphic-y kind of style for this wall because it was about 330 square meters wall. It was a kind of large piece, and I wanted it to be have a harmonious feel to it and not be very overpowering, because people's buildings and flats were all the windows were directed to this wall. So I didn't want people to have it, looking at every day and be feeling, oh my gosh, it's too much. I wanted something light, but also that would bring some movement and be a dynamic piece for this specific place. And also because it's a closed up, it's a dead end, kind of a cul-de-sac. And it didn't have a lot of light because the wall before it was painted was very dark. So I wanted to keep most of the white background, so that the light would reflect. And then from there, I just used my patterns, which also translates in what if suddenly what if suddenly everything is full? What if suddenly everything happens all at once? So that's kind of the translation of my patterns also in this specific piece. And yeah,
love it.
My favorites. So yeah.
I love it. Another one that I love, and you mentioned how the buildings are all facing this Tudo de Repente one, but it's the same with your Coragem.
No.
Okay.
This is near the train station.
Okay.
The Castelo train station, which is in the suburbs of Lisbon. This was done more or less in April, March, April. So this was in the midst of when we started to have a lot of COVID-related deaths. That's also why I chose to do a black background, kind of like a how do you say, mourning kind of thing, like luto, fazer luto. And I added the word coragem, which is courage, in yellow, because it inspired like a bit of there's a light in the end of the tunnel. Don't worry, we'll be okay, kind of thing. That I felt that was needed, and I needed it also. Just to not lose hope, and for me, my artwork is also that it's for me, but it's also for the other people. So in this case, this was a very important piece that I did, and people appreciated it a lot, especially while I was doing it. They asked, "Oh, is this because of the COVID deaths?" And so they actually, without me saying anything, they were like very, "Oh, thank you for this. We need this now. Thank you." And it was really rewarding. And for me, this is also one of my favorite pieces also. So you must go check it out.
I have to see it in person. And then another one that I love, and I'm going to end it on this one, is the one that you did on the bridge at Entre Campos.
That's a video. You want to put the video?
Well, I just want to pause on the video because it shows what the place looked like before. And it looked a bit of a mess. And then you came in and you did this, and it's beautiful. I mean, it's absolutely stunning.
I think there are some photos of the before if you go down
to the bottom.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of a before and after. I think, I'm not sure.
There are some befores.
Yeah.
But it was basically all graffitied and
very tagged because
there you go.
Yeah, you there. So, and that's that's not that bad. So the other side was a bit good. So, I mean, any place that's relatively near a train station is very easily painted on. I think it's like kind of a magnet for graffiti writers and, taggers and whatever. So in this case, my client, which was Emel, that's also part of the municipality of Lisbon, they asked me to create some painting that would help prevent future illegal interventions. So my idea here was, of course, using black and white to fill up every wall, even the floor and the lifts and everything with a lot of detail and a lot of patterns in a way that would kind of camouflage future tags. So if everything's very busy, if you have something happening on top, you won't notice it that much, or it's not so attractive to paint on, because what the writers and the kids that paint on these kind of walls, they want their tag, their signature to pop out, you see. So in this case, having a pattern on design that's very dense and intricate, it's harder to paint on, and that was kind of the idea I was trying to bring here in this case. And also I thought the black and white was a good choice, especially because it was so dense. I think if it had other colors, it would be a bit too much, a bit tiring. So I guess that worked out well. So far so good. It's still alive. It's hasn't been very vandalized yet, so it's working. Hopefully it will stay like that for a few more years. But,
how long did this take you? Because you did this all on your own. You don't have like a team.
Well, in this case, I used painters for the white, sorry, the white base, which would save me time, because I mean, just doing that is easy. So I asked some painters to do, and then I had a friend of mine that's also sorry. I had a friend of mine that's also a graffiti writer, and he helped me fill in some patterns just to make it faster. But yeah, most of it was done by myself at the time. But it's always easier when we have help and faster. But I'm a kind of a control freak, so I like to do things by myself. I said, wait, let me just check that line if it's straight, you know. So yeah, but it took me about 11 days, the whole project, which was about 800 and something square meters on both sides. So this is one of the sides, and then you cross the bridge and you have a whole other murals, other side on that side. So yeah, this was a kind of fun project, and it was a good thing to help me, you know, do the problem solving of how to solve this client's problem, and also be faithful to my style and what I want to do as an artist. Because sometimes we have this thing that clients say, oh, I want you to do this, but then we kind of feel that we're not being ourselves and what we want to do. And I'm lucky enough to be in a place where where clients actually just give me like a carte blanche, you know, just they say, okay.
A planche.
Yeah, so very français. So you know, but yeah, I mean, nowadays I'm very privileged in that aspect to be just asked to do. Okay, we need you to do this place, do whatever you want, or just with a theme or some kind of thing, and it's like, yay, cool! I'm so happy. So that's kind of what I'm doing now.
I mean, there's obviously, you know, I've spoken about it before, but there's obviously quite an African element in your work, with some of the patterns. You mentioned as well that, you know, you like black and white, and that's helpful because it's the colors for Lisbon is black and white, the official colors. Yeah. But I mean, talk about that openness of people. And how they've received your work, and the curiosity, sometimes nosiness, but a lot of time curiosity. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, because sometimes when I've done other interviews, people ask me like, "Oh, how has Portugal influenced your art?" And I'm thinking like, I think a bit and say, not really. I kind of, because I've left South Africa at such a young age, I don't want to lose the memories of it, and I want to tell a story through my art and who I am and where I come from. So I kind of think that that's also the reason why I use a lot of patterns and African elements, and also from my background in graphic design. But I think that even though I live in Portugal, I think that, I don't know, maybe it's because it's so different from what the Portuguese art is, that I've been really well received and people are very interested, and I feel that I have the space to create different things, not so inspired in Portuguese art, but inspired more in what I feel that I am as an artist, and my background, and my youth, my kid years in Cape Town, and people have been really open to it, and it's kind of hard actually, just mostly painting in black and white, because I kind of feel that in color pieces are more socially accepted. I don't know. I feel like it's just like people have a tendency to like color more. And for me, trying to touch people with black and white, it's an interesting challenge. And for me, I love challenges, so just bring it on. So yeah, and all the density, all the everything's going on, like the organized chaos, as I like to call it, is a strong reflection of myself as a person. And yeah, and
it's a strong reflection of Lisbon. Lisbon is organized chaos.
Yes.
So maybe it's influenced you more than you know.
Exactly. I haven't thought of it like that, actually. Yeah, it's because it's very small, but everything's happening. It's like everything's everywhere, but it works, So, yeah, I would say that in that way, Lisbon has influenced me, yeah. So,
Vanessa, speaking of challenges, where else do you want to do some murals? Where else do you want to work?
Well, as I said before, I want to start doing murals outside of Lisbon, leaving a bit my comfort zone. Maybe I actually was in Porto a few days ago. I would like to do some things in Porto and in Alentejo, which are two places that I really like. And I don't know, just in some abandoned village in the middle of nowhere, just in some urban furniture that they have there, like a water tower or some bus stop thingy. I don't know, something different it's in the middle of nature, in the middle of this abandoned place, or in the middle, with the cars passing by, and then you just see something in black and white. It's like, what? Double take, what's happening? So yeah, I don't know. Maybe if I do some kind of road trip, I'll just take my cans with me and just see what I can get my hands on. So yeah.
Sounds good. I think you need to go back to some of those old ladies who ask you to paint their doors and do some doors. That'll be awesome.
They're like, come on. I'm not going to last forever. I'm like, ooh, yeah, shame. But hopefully I will go back to Castelo Branco to do some more work next year. So hopefully I'll see my fans, cheerleaders, the old ladies, which are really sweet. And they offered me water and cookies, so it's also nice. And the people from the interior, I find, are much more welcoming and very, very pure, very, very pure people. And I think that's really nice. And that's why I also want to paint more in the interior of Portugal, which is one of my focuses soon, hopefully.
Very nice. Well, how can people find your work, follow you online, and keep up to date with what you're doing next?
They can find me on my website, vanessateodoro.com, or via my Instagram, which is also Vanessa Teodoro. Easy peasy. Yeah, mainly that's it. I mean, I've got Facebook, but nowadays who uses Facebook, But it's also Vanessa Teodoro, or just Google me. So that's easy. So yeah, that's more or less. Or just come to Lisbon and do a street art tour, and you could find some of my works there too. So yeah.
We'll put links in the show notes of the podcast so that people can find your work and support as well. But Vanessa, a question that we ask all of our guests: Portugal, the simple life. Why?
Okay, because here in Portugal, you have everything you need. It's a small country, but it's got your essentials. It's kind of like when people ask, what would you take if you lived on a deserted island? It's kind of like it has all your essentials. It has the great food, the great weather, the great people, the great cultural scene. So it's got everything mixed into one place, which is just exactly what we need to be happy and to grow as people. So yeah.
I love it. Thank you very much. And thanks for being on the podcast.
Okay, thank you.
And for now, I'm going to let you call it.
It's a wrap.
So thank you once again to Vanessa, and thank you to all of you for listening. Please subscribe, share with your friends, give us a thumbs up, and please leave a comment or a review. We'd love to hear from you. And as we say in Portugal, te próxima. Welcome to the Simple Life.